With the coming of 3.6 and the mysterious questions of the Cataclysm, I believe that it's finally time to theorize about the many, many secrets from 500 years ago. And I believe that at the center of all of these lies and fabrications are the Golden Sinners themselves, Rhinedottr and the Kingdom of Khaenri'ah. Disclaimer: this video will be a compilation of theories mixed in with some parts of the story based on the lore, but nothing here is indicative of the final product. This video will also not have the complete information from 3.6, just because I don't want any spoilers upon the video's release, but in the event that there are any changes, I will be making a follow-up video pretty soon. Nevertheless, let's begin. This video came from the stuff that was boiling in my mind about the logistics of the Cataclysm. Genshin's story more so revolves around the aftermath of the Cataclysm and less about what happened before it that even led to those moments. With what little information we have about the event, what we know is that the Great Sinner created multiple organisms with alien blood to ravish the world, and this was an international event spanning across all nations. The breeze amidst the forest and the chunk of Aerositterite state that the Great Sinner Gold was the one who sent her monsters to ravage the land, which included the Rift Hounds and Durin. However, there are some fascinating inconsistencies to that as we progress through the story. Going through all those questions, one is why punish the entirety of Khaenri'ah if it was only allegedly Rhinedottr's fault? Why curse the pure-blooded Khaenri'ahns, for example, when they were also victims of the Cataclysm? Another one is what would Rhinedottr's motive even be, considering her biggest ambition, at least from what we know in the current lore, is just scientific. Not to mention, Piero's backstory and Dainsleif's account of the matter don't actually mention Rhinedottr or a sinner at all, instead talking about the foolish ruler. However, Dane does mention about the art of Khaenri'ah and is actively wary against Albedo as a creature, which should beg the question of how much did the monsters affect Khaenri'ah as a whole. Going through all the questions, I propose one of many possible theories, and the theory for this video is that the book Breeze Amidst the Forest and the chunk of Aerositterite are purposefully vague in what happened in the Cataclysm, and that the Fall of Khaenriah wasn't completely Rhinedottr's fault, but instead an inside alliance between Rhinedottr, as an alchemist of Khaenri'ah, and the royals who wanted power above the gods. Nahida's quote from the Archon quest of Where the Boat of Consciousness Lies state that the second instance of forbidden knowledge pollution in the world occurred during the Khaenri'ah Cataclysm 500 years ago, with the first one being with King Deshret. I believe that this gives us a very good theoretical introduction of how this all began. We start with Rhinedottr herself, a skilled practitioner of the art of Khaenri'ah and a researcher from Khaenri'ah. If I had to guess her position, she would be along the lines of a royal mage or a sage. We know that Khaenri'ah has their fair share of scholars and alchemists to the point that the art of Khaenri'ah was once a renowned practice. The art of Khaenri'ah is an art of life that was used by the people to create fall life forms. One reason is because Khaenri'ah, as an underground civilization, doesn't have that much natural growing plants and fauna, with possibly the fewest exceptions of the flowers. I can definitely see Rhinedottr as a person that simply began her research through biogenesis, with her projects in otherworldly creatures, and so transitioned into more advanced concepts, life, creation, and other worlds. She would have slowly begun her research into the concept of alien realms. She would begin the projects of creating the Alphasol or the Rift Hounds, HUMUS or Durin, and Precipice Cretaceous, the project that would slowly create Albedo and his questionable prototypes. The Primordial Human Project's goal, for example, was to create life from the inorganic, and that was Rhinedottr's whole philosophy. But it's very much possible that she never started this project with the notions of destruction and usurpation, just genuine interest in the sciences, much like how Sucrose and Albedo operate fundamentally. Some reasons for this is that Durin himself was never actually a hostile creature, just a creature that was horribly corrupted by whatever unknown energy plagued him. We know this because we see snippets of both Durin and Rhinedottr's memories from other pieces of the lore. Rhinedottr was a strict and hardened woman after the Cataclysm, but prior to that, there are hints of her softness and fondness of the creatures that succeeded. She would call them children, or family. The creatures she created at first were also much tamer. A good example is Albedo, but a better case would be Durin, a creature that was almost like a child thanking his mother for creating him. Granted, she would only show his love for the creations that succeeded as failures were thrown and fed to the dragon. Overall, I believe that Rhinedottr's position in Khaenri'ah society as a researcher was what motivated her so fascination with the unknowns of the universe, and not by some ulterior motive to overthrow the dynasties or whatever. I genuinely believe that she never started as an evil person. Now we go on to the fascinating role of the Eclipse dynasty and the theory of their alliance. I believe that the reason Khaenri'ah itself was heavily punished, and not just Rhinedottr, was because of the foolish king's decision to further tamper with forbidden knowledge of the abyss, to try and gain an edge on the divine. Caro in the Mocking Mask and other lore bits state that his level of learning as a royal mage could not compare with the sages, thus he failed to earn the favor of the previous ruler. He failed to tear them away from the veil of sin, ushering in a tide of divine wrath, destruction, and foolishness. Furthermore, Clother makes his fascinating statement in the 3.5 Arcane Quest, stating that the sibling, the royalty of Khaenri'ah, was the abyss to the people, a wondrous mystery far beyond our imagination and comprehension. They once believed that the sibling would bring new strength and hope to Khaenri'ah. What if, in a way, this is also what they viewed Rhinedottre's work to be? I actually believe that Rhinedottr would have an alliance with King Ermin and the other nobles of Khaenri'ah who would also have regarded her work and discoveries as a new hope for the nation. Remember, Khaenri'ah has always been in a particular state when it comes to the gods. They would search for forbidden information even to the point of assaulting the citizens of Enkanomiya, as well as have either a neutral or even hostile interpretation of the gods' judgment. It is completely impossible that Rhinedottr's discovery of a new world is seen as a way to further improve the overall power of humanity, and even make them believe that this was their one-up to the gods. This proposition would also go well with other theories that the sinner in 3.5 was King Ermin, but that's neither here nor there. Now, the reason that I think that the nobles, at least to some extent, are knowledgeable about the existence of the Abyss and its capabilities was because of how Clother reacted at the end of the 3.5 Arcane Quest. He says that at long last, I have seen it with my own eyes, as though already knowing what the Abyss was but just not having witnessed it firsthand. We also do need to respect Khaenri'ah's stance on the otherworldly as a whole. The intellectuals of Khaenri'ah already knew that the sky was fake, something that Piero tells Scaramouche. Furthermore, some Khaenri'ahns suspected that Celestia is not from this world, hence why the Abyss Order was also looking for this information, and why envoys from Khaenri'ah came to Enkanomiya with a ruin guard to steal the book before Sun and Moon. They also appear to be privy to other information about the gods that aren't well known to us right now, and have access to elements and sciences that defy the natural laws of the world. Therefore, I believe that at some point of Rhinedottr's research, the sages also became infatuated with the idea of exploring knowledge beyond mortal comprehension. I also believe that when they caught wind of Rhinedottr's creations, it became a somewhat hidden project within the nation to learn more about the mysterious world beyond, and the art of creating life. And for that, it's possible that not everyone in the royal menagerie was thrilled with the idea of tampering with things beyond their mortal comprehension. If there were more people like Piero who were royal mages that detested the idea, I can see contempt brewing internally in the academic sector. Now, it's not really a good idea to talk about the lore of Rhinedottr without respecting the literature she's allegedly from. The name Rhinedottr is most likely connected to thus Rheingold, the first of the 4 epic music dramas by Richard Wagner. Rhinedottr could be a reference to the Rhine maidens, who guard a treasure of immeasurable value known as the Rheingold. Furthermore, the dwarf Alberich, an allegory to the Alberich clan, was dazzled by the Rheingold itself. In the story, the Rheingold is gold that can be turned into a magical ring which gives power to rule the world, but only if they renounce love. Alberich is embittered by the mockery of the Rhinedotters and curses love and runs with the gold back into the chasm. I believe that on the surface, this is what Rhinedottr and their nobles represent. Rhinedottr as the original pioneer who found the mysterious power of the Abyss and studied it further, versus Clother and maybe even other nobles who coveted that power and tried to take it for themselves. Though it's still a very much surface connection, and I feel like we'll just have to wait for future updates. I want to also emphasize the role of the gods in the story. The gods in the Rheingold were seen less as divine paragons of justice, and more so as bumbling and flawed buffoons who are also susceptible to the mortal sins of greed, envy, and pride. This could potentially be a connection to how the gods of Tevat are also technically flawed and strangely humane characters, but that's just an observation. There's most likely a deeper read into this since I'm only taking from the summaries of Wikipedia and other spark notes, because I kind of doubt that Genshin would go that deep into the symbolism, but that's mostly it. What was really fascinating about the logic of the Cataclysm is that there's a massive gap in what could have possibly led to the events. Dainsleif says that 500 years ago, the gods descended upon this world and brought desolation to Khaenri'ah. Clother and the Abyss sibling directly blamed the gods for the distress, and Dainsleif's comment in 2.6 states that it was the gods that truly vanquished the civilization, not necessarily Rhinedottr and her creations. The final order of Dainsleif is to inform all Black Serpent Knights to protect the people of Khaenri'ah at all costs, because they were royal guards, but that would mean nothing in the events to follow. Royals, gentry, common folks, these identities made no difference. Against the might of the gods, the only identity that mattered was being from Khaenri'ah. That means that there were two different calamities that happened that day. The original calamity that had been overturned, which was most likely Rhinedottr, and the calamity that ended all of Khaenri'ah. But what I find particularly strange is that no one is blaming Rhinedottr for pseudo-unleashing the abyssal monsters onto the rest of Devat, and even herself almost becoming the precursor to the Abyss Order by being the pioneer of otherworldly research. The only description we have about Rhinedottr in the Cataclysm was when Khaenri'ah was destroyed, a great sinner created endless monsters with dark alien blood flowing through their veins. They rampaged across the land, destroying all in their path. So the next question is, where did it all go wrong? One of the theories that I was considering is that what motivated Rhinedottr to unleash her monsters was because of internal conflicts. What if the unleashing of the monsters wasn't just Rhinedottr's prerogative? The theory goes that the Eclipse dynasty was never destroyed by Rhinedottr intentionally, because Rhinedottr never really had any motive of usurping the throne or taking Khaenri'ah for herself. Instead, it's that the Eclipse dynasty failed to contain the creatures when executing their plans of mass invasion, thus resulting in the unwarranted destruction of the Eclipse dynasty. Another good reason that the Cataclysm occurred was because of Rhinedottr's madness. The Lost Legacies in the Sand story teaser notes that knowledge that did not come from this world is sure to corrupt and disrupt the human psyche, and we can see Rhinedottr's own mentality slowly become to blur itself. She tells her children, like how a mother would, to go onto a lovely place and display your beauty there with pride. As beautiful as this line is, this is a precedent for the start of the Cataclysm. Rhinedottr's madness follows through with Durin's own comments of wishing to go to a land of lovely songs, to sing and dance with the green bard and the lovely dragon. Albedo also says that the creatures of Rhinedottr were corrupted through Durin's blood specifically, and even hypothesized that Durin's power can make creatures go mad. What if in her mad and deranged state, she saw the unleashing of her monsters as a chance to show the world her creations, or to allow her children to see the world for themselves? But in reality, all she did was unleash corrupted creatures into Devat and almost cause a cataclysmic event. Honestly, this theory feels like a supplement that could still work in favor of the nobles manipulating Rhinedottr's creation and unleashing forbidden knowledge onto Khaenri'ah. Rhinedottr's vulnerable psyche would be very much susceptible to any kind of external manipulation. Another unlikely alternative reason for this as well is that Rhinedottr and the Eclipse dynasty never had a pact, and that Rhinedottr was completely independent when it came to her studies. This could mean that one theory of why she would destroy Khaenri'ah was because they were threatening her children. This to me is the most unlikely simply because of how Khaenri'ah already acts quite heretically when it comes to otherworldly notations and celestial mindsets, plus with its ruined machine systems. I really doubt that the sages would actively issue a warrant, but it would be a good motivation for Rhinedottr to retaliate by unleashing her monsters, thus setting a precedent for her memory with Durin. Now we go on to Rhinedottr's redemption. To say redemption would actually mean that she, by any means, is sorry, which I highly doubt. When she left Khaenri'ah after the Cataclysm, and presumably after being cursed with immortality, Rhinedottr seemed to be anything but repentant, and simply began continuing her research. This would soon bring about her creation of Albedo. However, we do note that Albedo and Rhinedottr's journey was cut short when Rhinedottr left him behind after they found the artifact known as the Heart of Naberius. All in all, where Rhinedottr is and what she is doing are completely unknown to us. In the Cinnabar Spindle, she calls out for the creation of a new destiny for herself and your brothers. I don't actually think that Rhinedottr's attitudes towards the Khaenri'ah incident have completely changed. Honestly, with how she talks about creating a new destiny and how she still taught Albedo the creation of the Opus Magnum, I think she's still pursuing whatever she originally sought out for. There's important limitations to this theory that I need to respect. One is the justification for the Eclipse dynasty being destroyed is only loosely supported by the one thought that either Rhinedottr destroyed it herself or it was collateral damage. But we can't just ignore the possibility of Rhinedottr just being a solo actress and acting against Khaenri'ah citizens for her own selfish needs. We also need to respect that we can make all these assumptions about the Khaenri'ah and Eclipse dynasty solely because we don't know anything about them to begin with. Additionally, what about the Abyss sibling? What's their role in all of this? Would they even allow the creation of otherworldly creatures? Well, to be honest, with how the Traveler treats Albedo's creations as just a feat in science, and how both the siblings are from different worlds, I really think that the sibling would be quite excited for the surface prospect of creating life from a different world. In the memories of the Abyss sibling, for example, we never truly know for certain what the response to Clother was, considering we played through the eyes of our Traveler. But that's it for me today. This video is just a dump of ideas and open questions that Genshin's lore just hasn't uncovered yet. We've got a good few years before we really get the full cutscene of what happened at the Cataclysm, before and after the actual event itself. But that's it. A deeper dive into Rhinedott's peculiar position and seeming erasure from the history of the Cataclysm. Honestly, the fact that the most recent information about her directly causing the Cataclysm is from more than a year ago, and I'm genuinely surprised. But anyway, my name is Aster and thank you for chilling with me.